Is your ladyship at home this afternoon?
Yes, who has called?
Lord Darlington, my lady.
Show him up. And I'm at home for anyone who calls.
Yes, my lady.
It is best for me to see him here tonight. I'm glad he's come.
Lord Darlington.
How do you do, Lady Windermere?
How do you do, Lord Darlington? No, I can't shake hands with you. My hands are all wet with these roses. Aren't they lovely? They just came up from Selby this morning.
They are quite perfect. And what a wonderful fan. May I look at it?
Do? Pretty, isn't it? It's got my name on it and everything. I've only just seen it myself. It's my husband's birthday present to me. You know, today's my birthday.
No, is it really?
Yes, it is. I'm of age today. Quite an important day in my life, isn't it? That is why I'm giving this party tonight. Do sit down.
I wish I'd known it was your birthday, Lady Windermere. I would have covered the whole street in front of your house with flowers for you to walk on. They're made for you.
Lord Darlington, you annoyed me last night at the Foreign Office. I'm afraid you are going to annoy me again.
Hi, Lady Windermere.
Put it here, Parker. Yes, that will do. Thank you. Won't you come over, Lord Darlington?
I am quite miserable, Lady Windermere. You must tell me what I did.
Well, you kept paying me elaborate compliments the whole evening.
Nowadays, compliments are the only pleasant things we can pay.
No, I'm talking very seriously. You mustn't laugh. I'm quite serious. I don't like compliments. And I don't see why a man should think he's pleasing a woman enormously when he says to her a whole heap of things he doesn't really mean.
But I did mean them.
I hope not. I should be sorry to have a quarrel with you, Lord Darlington. I like you very much, you know that. But I shouldn't like you at all if I thought you were what most other men are. Believe me, you're far better than most other men. And I sometimes think you pretend to be worse.
Oh, we all have our little vanities, Lady Windermere.
Why do you make that your special one?
So many conceited people go about society pretending to be good that I think it shows a rather sweet and modest disposition to pretend to be bad. Besides, there is this to be said: if you pretend to be good, the world takes you very seriously, and if you pretend to be bad, it doesn't. Such is the astounding stupidity of optimism.
Don't you want the world to take you seriously then, Lord Darlington?
No, who are the people the world takes seriously? All the dull people one can think of, from the bishops down to the bores. No. I should like you to take me very seriously, Lady Windermere. You more than anyone else in life.
Why? Why me?
Because I think we might be great friends. Let us be great friends. You might want to friends someday.
Why do you say that?
Oh, we all want friends at times.
I think we're very good friends already, Lord Darlington. And we can always remain so, as long as you don't...
Don't what?
Well, don't spoil it by saying extravagant, silly things to me. You think I am a Puritan, I suppose. Well, I have something of a Puritan in me. I was brought up like that. I'm glad of it. My mother died when I was a mere child, and I lived always with Lady Julia, my father's elder sister, you know. She was stern to me, but she taught me what the world is forgetting. The difference that there is between what is right and what is wrong. She allowed of no compromise. I allow of none.
Oh, my dear Lady Windermere.
You look on me as being behind the age. Well, I am. I should be sorry to be on the same level as an age like this.
You think the age very bad?
Yes. Nowadays, people seem to look on life as a speculation. Only, it is not a speculation. It is a sacrament. Its ideal is love. Its purification is sacrifice.
Anything is better than being sacrificed.
But don't say that.
I do say it. I feel it. And I know it.
The men would like to know if they had to put carpets on the terrace for tonight, my lady.
You don't think it will rain, Lord Darlington, do you?
Oh, I won't hear if it's raining on your birthday.
Tell them to do it at once, Parker. Thank you.
Do you think then, of course I'm only putting an imaginary instance, do you think that in the case of a young married couple, say 2 years married, if the husband were to suddenly become the intimate friend of a woman of, well, more than doubtful character, always calling on her, lunching with her, probably paying her bills, do you think that the wife should not console herself?
Console herself?
Yes, I think she should. I think she has the right.
Because the husband is vile, should the wife be vile also?
Oh, vile is a terrible word, Lady Windermere.
Oh, but it is a terrible thing, Lord Darlington.
Do you know that I think good people do a great deal of harm in this world? I think the greatest harm they do is they make badness of such extraordinary importance. It is absurd to divide people into good and bad. People are either charming or tedious. I take the side of the charming, and you, Lady Windermere, can't help belonging to that.
Don't stir. I am merely going to finish my flowers.
Do you know, I must say, you're a very hard modern life, Lady Windermere. Though there is much against it, I admit. Most women, for instance, nowadays are rather mercenary.
Don't talk about such people.
Well then, setting aside mercenary people, who of course are dreadful, do you think that if a woman commits what the world calls a fault, should never be forgiven?
I think they should never be forgiven.
And men, do you think there should be the same laws for men as there are for women?
Well, certainly.
I think life is far too complex a thing to be settled by these hard and fast rules.
Well, if we had these hard and fast rules, we should find life to be much more simple.
And you allow no exceptions?
None.
Ah, what a fascinating Puritan you are, Lady Windermere.
The adjective was unnecessary, Lord Darlington.
Oh, I couldn't help it. I can resist everything except temptation.
You have the modern affectation of weakness.
It is only an affectation, Lady Windermere.
The Duchess of Berwick and Lady Agatha Carlisle.
Dear Margaret, I'm so pleased to see you. You remember Agatha, don't you? How do you do, Lord Darlington? I will not let you know, my daughter. You are far too wicked.
Oh, don't say that, Duchess. As a wicked man, I'm a complete failure. Why, there are loads of people who say I've never done anything wrong in the whole course of my life, though they only say it behind my back.
Isn't he dreadful? Agatha, this is Lord Darlington. Mind you don't believe a word he says. No tea, thank you. We've just had tea at Lady Markby's. Such bad tea, too. It was quite undrinkable. I wasn't at all surprised. Her own son-in-law supplies it. Agatha is looking forward so much to your ball tonight, dear Margaret.
Oh, you mustn't think it is going to be a ball, Duchess. It is only a dance in honor of my birthday, a small and early.
Very small, very early, and very select, Duchess.
Well, of course it's going to be select. But we know that, dear Margaret, about your house. It is really one of the few houses in London where I can take Agatha, and I feel quite secure about dear Berwick. I don't know what society is coming to. The most dreadful people seem to go everywhere. They certainly come to my parties. The men get quite furious when one doesn't ask them. Rarely someone should make a stand against it.
I will, Duchess. I will have no one in my house about whom there is any scandal.
Oh, don't say that, Lady Windermere. I should never be admitted.
It don't matter. With women it is different. We are good. Some of us are, at least. But we are positively getting elbowed into the corner. Our husbands would rarely forget our existence if we didn't nag at them from time to time, just to remind them we have the perfect legal right to do so.
Curious thing, Duchess. The game of marriage. A game, by the way, that is going out of fashion. Wives hold all the honors and invariably lose the odd trick.
The odd trick is that the husband, Lord Darlington.
I think that quite a good name for the modern husband.
Dear Lord Darlington, how thoroughly depraved you are!
Lord Arlington is trivial.
Oh, don't say that, Lady Windermere.
Then why do you talk so trivially about life then?
I think life is far too important a thing to ever talk seriously about it.
What does he mean? Do as a concession to my poor wits, Lord Darlington. Just explain to me what you really mean.
Oh, I don't think I will, Duchess. To be intelligible is to be found out. Goodbye. And goodbye, Lady Windermere. I may come tonight, mayn't I? Do let me come.
Yes, certainly. But you are not to say foolish and sincere things to people.
Ah! You are beginning to reform me, Lady Windermere. It is a dangerous thing to reform anyone.
What a charming, wicked creature. I like him so much. I'm quite delighted he's gone. How sweet you are looking. Where do you get your gowns? Now I must tell you how sorry I am for you, dear Margaret. Agatha, darling.
Yes, Mamma.
Will you go look at that photograph album I see there?
Yes, Mamma.
Dear child, so fond of photographs of Switzerland. Such a pure taste, I think. But really, I am so sorry for you, Margaret.
Why, Duchess?
Oh, on account of that horrid woman. She dresses so well too, makes it much worse. Set such a dreadful example. Augustus, you know my disreputable brother. Such a trial to us all. Well, Augustus is completely infatuated about her. It is quite scandalous that she is absolutely inadmissible into society. Many women has a past, dear, but I am told she has at least a dozen, and that they all fit.
Whom are you talking about, Duchess?
About Mrs. Erlyn.
Mrs. Erlyn? I never heard of her, Duchess, and what has she to do with me?
My poor child. Agatha, darling.
Yes, Mamma.
Will you go out on the terrace and look at the sunset?
Yes, Mamma.
Sweet child, so devoted to sunsets. Such a refinement of feeling, does it not? After all, there is nothing like nature, is there?
What is it, Duchess? Why do you talk to me about this person?
Don't you really know? I assure you we're all so distressed about it. Only last night at dear Lady Jansen's, yes, everyone was saying how extraordinary that of all men in London, Windermere should behave in such a way.
My husband? What has he got to do with any woman of that kind?
Ah, what indeed? That is the point. He goes to see her continually and stops for hours at a time. And while he is there, she is not at home to anyone. Not that many ladies call on her, dear, but she has a great many disreputable men friends. My own brother in particular, as I told you. That is what makes it so dreadful about Windermere. We looked on him as being such a model husband, but I am afraid there is no doubt about it. My dear nieces, you know the savvy girls, don't you? Such nice domestic creatures. Plain. Dreadfully plain. Oh. But so good. Well, they're always at the window doing fancy work and making ugly things for the poor, which I think is useful of them in these dreadful socialistic days. And this terrible woman has taken a house on Curzon Street, right opposite them. Such a respectable street, too. I really don't know what we're coming to. And they tell me Windermere goes there 4 and 5 times a week. They see him, and they can't help it. And while my nieces never talk scandal, dear, they will, of course, remark on it to everyone. What makes it worse is that I am told she has got a great deal of money out of somebody, for she came to London 6 months ago without anything at all to speak of. Now she has this charming house in Mayfair, drives her ponies to the park every afternoon, and oh! Well, all since she is known, poor dear Windermere.
I can't believe it.
But it's quite true. The whole of London knows it. That is why I thought it was better that I come talk to you and advise you. Take Windermere away at once, to Homburg-Reich, where he'll have something to amuse him, and you can watch him all day long. I assure you that on several occasions after I was first married, I had to pretend to be very ill and obliged to drink the most unpleasant mineral waters, merely to get Barrick out of town. He was so extremely susceptible. Though I am bound to say, he never gave any large sums of money to anybody. He's far too high-principled for that.
Duchess, it is impossible. Windermere and I are only 2 years married. Our child is but 6 months old.
Oh, the pretty baby. How is the little darling? Is it a boy or a girl? Oh, I hope it's a girl. No. It's a boy. I'm so sorry. Boys are so wicked. My own boy is excessively immoral. Wouldn't believe it what hours he comes home. And he's only just left Oxford. Really don't know what they teach them there.
Are all men bad?
Oh, all of them, dear. All of them without exception. And they never grow any better. Men become old, but they never become good.
Windermere and I married for love.
Ah, yes. We begin like that. It was only Barrick's brutal and incessant threats of suicide that made me accept him at all. But before the year was out, he was running after petticoats of all kinds, every color, every shape, every material. In fact, before the honeymoon was over, I caught him winking at my maid. A most pretty, respectable girl. I dismissed her at once without a character. Oh, no. I passed her on to my sister. Oh, poor dear Sir George. He was so extremely short-sighted. I thought it wouldn't matter, but, it did, though. Well, I must be going, as we are dining out. And don't take this little aberration of Windermere's too much to heart. Just take the poor fellow away, and he'll come back to you all right.
Come back to me?
Oh, yes. These wicked women get our husbands from us, but they always come back. Slightly damaged, of course. Oh, and don't make scenes, dear. Men hate them.
It is very kind of you, Duchess, to come and tell me all of this, but I cannot believe that my husband is untrue.
My pretty child, I was like that once. But now I know all men are monsters. The only thing to do is to feed the wretches well. A good cook does wonders, and that I know you have. My dear Margaret, you aren't going to cry?
Oh, you needn't be afraid, Duchess. I never cry.
That's quite right, dear. Crying is the refuge of plain women, but the ruin of pretty ones. Agatha, darling.
Yes, Mamma?
Will you come bid goodbye to Lady Windermere and thank her for your charming visit? Oh, and, by the way, I must thank you for sending a card to Mr. Hopper. He's that rich young Australian people are taking notice of just at present. His father made a great fortune by making some kind of food in circular tins. Most palatable, I believe. I'd fancy it's the sort of thing servants always refuse to eat. But the son is quite interesting. I believe he's attracted by dear Agatha's clever talk. Of course, I shall be very, very sorry to lose her. But I think that a mother that doesn't part with her daughter every season has no real affection. We're coming tonight, dear, and remember my advice. Take the poor fellow out of town. It's the only thing to do. Goodbye once more. Come along, Agatha.
How horrible. I understand now what Lord Darlington meant by the imaginary instance of a couple not 2 years married. Oh, it can't be true. She spoke of enormous sums of money paid to this woman. I know where Arthur keeps his bank book. In one of the drawers of that desk. I might find out by that. I will find out. No. No. It is some hideous mistake. Some silly scandal. He loves me. He loves me. But why should I not look? I am his wife. I have a right to look. I knew it. I knew it. There's not a word of truth in this stupid story. A second book? Private? Locked. Mrs. Erlyn, £600. Mrs. Erlyn, £700. Mrs. Erlyn, £400. But it's true. It is true. How horrible.
Well, dear, has the fan been sent home yet? Margaret, you couldn't open my bank book. I have no right to do such a thing.
You think it wrong that you were found out, don't you?
I think it wrong that a wife should spy on her husband.
I did not spy on you. I never knew of this woman's existence till half an hour ago. Someone who pitied me was kind enough to tell me what all of London already knows. Your daily visits to Curzon Street, your mad infatuation, the monstrous sums of money you squander on this infamous woman.
No, Margaret, don't talk like that to Mrs. Erlyn. You don't know how unjust it is.
You are very jealous of Mrs. Erlyn's honour. I wish you had been as jealous of mine.
Margaret, your honour is untouched. You don't think for a moment that I would ever
I
consider being
think
untrue to
that you spend your money strangely, that is all. Don't imagine I mind about the money. As far as I'm concerned, you squander everything we have. But what I do mind, Arthur, is that you, who have loved me, you who have taught me to love you, should pass from the love that is given to the love that is bought. And it is I who feel degraded. You don't feel anything. I feel stained, utterly stained. You can't realize how hideous the last 6 months seem to me now. Every kiss you have given me is tainted in my memory.
No, Margaret, don't say that. I've never loved anyone in the whole world but you.
Then who is this woman? And why do you take a house for her?
I did not take a house for her.
Well, you gave her the money to do it, which is the same
Margaret,
thing.
as far as I've known Mrs. Erlyn...
Is there a Mr. Erlyn? Or is he a myth?
Her husband died many years ago. She's alone in the world.
No relations?
None.
Rather curious, isn't it?
Margaret, I was saying to you, and I beg you to listen to me. As far as I have known Mrs. Erlyn, she's conducted herself well. If some years ago she had fallen prey to some scandal...
I don't want details about her life.
I'm not giving you details about her life. I tell you simply this. Mrs. Erlyn was once honoured, loved, respected. She had a position. She was well born. Margaret, she lost everything. Yes, threw it away if you like, but that just makes it all the more bitter. Misfortunes one can endure. They come from the outside. They're accidents. But to suffer one's own faults. There is a sting of life. It was 20 years ago, too. She was little more than a girl then. She
I
had
am
a
not
wife
interested
who even
in
less
her.
time than you have.
And you should not mention this woman and me in the same breath. It is an error of taste.
Margaret, you could save this woman.
Me?
Yes, she wants you to get back into society. She wants you to help
How
her.
impertinent of her.
Margaret, I came here to ask you a great favour, and I still ask it of you. Though you have discovered what I intended, you should never have known that, yes, I have given Mrs. Erlyn a large sum of money. I want you to send her an invitation for our party tonight.
Oh, you are mad.
I entreat you. People may chatter about her. Well, yes, they do chatter about her, of course. But they don't know anything definite against her. She's been to several houses. Not the houses where you would go, I admit, but still. The houses where women who are in what is called society nowadays do go. This does not content her. She wants you to receive her once.
As a triumph for her, I suppose.
No, because she knows that you are a good woman. If she comes here once, she will have a chance at a happier, a surer life than she has had. She will make no further effort to know you. Won't you help a woman who's trying to get back?
No. And if a woman really repents, she never wishes to return to the society that has made or seen her ruin.
I beg of you.
I am going to dress for dinner. And don't mention the subject again this evening. Arthur, you fancy because I have no father or mother that I am alone in the world, and you can treat me as you choose. You are wrong. I have friends. Many friends.
Margaret, you're talking foolishly. Recklessly. I will not argue with you, but I insist upon your asking
I
Mrs.
shall
Erland
do nothing of the kind.
You refuse.
Absolutely.
Margaret, do this for my sake. It is her last chance.
What has that to do with me?
Oh, how hard good women are.
How weak bad men are.
Oh, Margaret, none of us men may be good enough for the women we marry. That is quite true. But you don't imagine that I would... The suggestion is monstrous.
Why should you be any different from any other men? I am told there is hardly a husband in London who does not waste his life on some shameful passion.
I am not one of them.
I am not sure of that.
Oh no, Margaret, you are sure in your heart. Don't make chasm after chasm between us. God knows the last few minutes have thrust us wide enough apart. Sit down and write the card.
Nothing in the whole world would induce me.
Then I will.
What? You are going to fight her.
Yes. Parker,
Yes, my lord.
have this note sent to Mrs. Erland at number 84A Curzon Street. There is no answer.
Yes, my lord.
Arthur. Arthur, if that woman comes here, I shall insult her.
Don't say that, Margaret.
You don't know me. I mean it.
My child, if you did such a thing, there's not a woman in London who wouldn't pity you.
There's not a good woman in London who would not applaud me. We have been too lax. We must make an example. I propose to begin tonight. Yes, you gave me this fan today. It was your birthday present. But if that woman crosses my threshold, I shall strike her across the face with it.
Margaret, you couldn't do such a thing.
You don't know me. Parker,
Yes, my lady.
I shall dine in my room tonight. I don't want an in fact. See to it that everything is ready by 10:30. And Parker, be sure to pronounce the names of the guests very clearly. Sometimes you speak so fast I miss them. I am particularly anxious to hear the names quite distinctly so as to make no mistake. You understand, Parker?
Yes, my lady.
That will do. Arthur, if that woman comes here, I warn
Margaret,
you.
you'll ruin us.
Us! From this very moment, my life is separate from yours. But if you wish to avoid public scandal, write at once to this woman and tell her that I forbid her to come here.
I will not. I cannot. She must come.
Then I shall do as I have said. You leave me no choice.
Margaret. Margaret. My God. What shall I do? I dare not tell her who this woman really is. The shame would kill her.
Windermere isn't here. Mr. Hopper is very late too. You have kept those 5 dances for him, Agatha?
Yes, Mamma.
Just let me see your card. I'm so glad Lady Windermere has revived cards. They're a mother's only safeguard. You dear simple little thing. No nice girl should ever waltz with such particularly younger sons. You look so fast. The last 2 dances you might pass out on the terrace with Mr. Hopper.
Yes, Mamma.
The air is so pleasant there.
Lady Stutfield, Sir James Royston, Mr. Berkeley, Mr. Dumby.
Good evening, Lady Windermere. I suppose this will be the last ball of the season.
I suppose so, Mr. Dumby. It has been a delightful season, hasn't it?
Quite delightful. Good evening, Duchess. I suppose this will be the last ball of the season.
I suppose so, Mr. Dumby. It has been a very dull season, hasn't it?
Dreadfully dull.
Mrs. Dumby, good evening. I suppose this will be the last ball of the season.
Oh, I think not. There'll probably be 2 more.
Mr. Rufford, Lady Jedburgh and Miss Graham, Mr. Hopper.
How do you do, Lady Windermere? Happy birthday. How do you do, Duchess?
Oh, dear Mr. Hopper. How nice of you to come so early. We know how you're run after in London.
Capital place, London. They're not nearly as exclusive here in London as they are in Sydney.
Oh, well, we know your value. We wish there were more like you.
Thank you.
It would make life so much easier. Do you know, Mr. Hopper, Agatha and I are so very much interested in Australia. It must be so pretty with the dear little kangaroos flying about. Agatha has found it on the map. Yes. What a curious shape it is. Just like a very large packing case. However, it is a very young country, isn't it?
Wasn't made at the same time as the others, Duchess.
How clever you are, Mr. Hopper. You have a cleverness quite of your own. Now I mustn't keep you.
Oh, I should like to dance for Lady Agatha, Duchess.
Oh! Well, I hope she has a dance left. Have you a dance left, Agatha?
Yes, Mamma.
The next one.
Yes, Mamma.
May I have the pleasure?
Now, will you escort us into the ballroom, Mr. Hopper? Mind you take great care of my little chatterbox, Mr. Hopper.
Margaret, I want to speak
In a
to you.
moment.
Lord Augustus Lawton,
Good evening, Lady Windermere.
Mr. and Mrs. Arthur Bowden, Lord and Lady Paisley, Lord Darlington.
I want to speak to you particularly, dear boy. I am worn to a shadow. No, I don't look it. None of us men do look what we really are. Damn good thing, too. What I want to know is this. Who is she? Where is she from? And why hasn't she any demmed relations? Demmed nuisance relations? But they make one so demmed respectable.
You're talking, I suppose, with Mrs. Erlen. I only met her 6 months ago. Till then, I never knew of her existence.
You've seen a good deal of her since then.
Yes, I have seen a good deal of her since then. I've just seen her.
Gad, the women are really down on her. I've been dining with Arabella this evening, and by Jove, you should have heard what she had to say about Mrs. Erlen. She didn't leave a rag on her. Berwick and I told her it didn't matter that much, as the lady in question must have an extremely fine figure. You should have seen Arabella's expression. Now look here, dear boy, I don't know what to do about Mrs. Erlen. Egad, I might be married to her, but she treats me with such demmed indifference. She's deuced clever, too. She explains everything. Egad, she even explains you. She has any amount of explanations about you, and all of them different.
No explanations are necessary about my friendship with Mrs. Erlen.
Now, look here, dear boy. Do you think she will ever get into this demmed thing called society? I mean, would you introduce her to your wife? No sense in beating around the confounded bush. Would you do that?
Mrs. Erlin is coming here tonight.
Your wife has sent her a card?
Mrs. Erlin has received a card.
Well, then she's all right, dear boy. But why didn't you tell me that before? It would have saved me a heap of worries and damn misunderstandings. Oh,
Mr. Cecil Graham!
Good evening, Arthur. Why don't you ask me how I am? You know, I like it when people ask me how I am. It shows a widespread interest in my health. Now tonight I am not at all well. I've been dining with my people. I wonder why it is one's people are always so tedious. My father would always discuss morality after dinner. I told him that he was old enough to know better. But you know, my experience is, as soon as a person is old enough to know better, they don't seem to know much of anything at all. Oh, hello, Tuppy. What is this I hear that you are going to be married again? Well, I thought you were tired of that game.
You are excessively trivial, dear boy, excessively trivial.
Now tell me, Tuppy, which is it? Have you been twice married and once divorced? Or twice divorced and once married? Now, I would say twice divorced and once married. It seems all the more probable.
I have a very bad memory. I really don't remember which.
Oh, well,
Lord Windermere. Lord Windermere, there's something most particular I must ask you.
I'm afraid if you'll excuse me, I must join my wife.
Oh, no! You mustn't dream of such a thing. It's most dangerous nowadays for a man to be seen paying any attention to his wife in public. It always makes people think he beats her when they're alone. Oh, the world has grown so suspicious of anything that resembles a happy married life. Well, I'll tell you what it is at some time, Lord Windermere, but perhaps we could talk...
Margaret, I must speak to you.
Will you hold my fan for me, Lord Darlington? Thanks.
Margaret, what you said before dinner was of course impossible.
Who is not coming here tonight?
Mrs. Erlin is coming here, and if you in any way annoy or wound her, you will bring shame and sorrow on us both. Remember that. Margaret, only trust me. And why should trust her husband?
London is full of women who trust their husbands. One can always recognize them. They always look so thoroughly unhappy. I'm not going to be one of them. Will you give me back my fan, please, Lord Darlington? Thanks. Such a useful thing, a fan, isn't it? I will want a friend tonight, Lord Darlington. I did not know her to want one so soon.
I knew this day would come, Lady Windermere, but why tonight?
I will tell her. I must. It would be terrible if there were any scene. Margaret!
Mrs. Erlin!
Lady Windermere, you've dropped your fan.
How do you do again, Lord Windermere? How charming your sweet wife looks. Quite a picture.
Terribly rash of you to come.
The wisest thing I ever did in my life. And by the way, you must pay me a good deal of attention this evening. I'm afraid of the women. You must introduce me to some of them. The men, I can always manage. Ah, how do you do, Lord Augustus? You quite neglected you lately. I've not seen you since yesterday. I'm afraid you are faithless. Everyone told me so.
Oh, no. Mrs. Erlin, please allow me to explain that.
Oh no, my dear Lord Augustus, you can't explain anything. It is your chief charm.
Oh, well, if you find charm in me, then...
How pale you are.
Cowards are always pale.
You look faint. Come out on the terrace.
Yes. Parker, send my cloak out.
Lady Windermere, how beautifully your terrace is illuminated. It reminds me of Prince Doria's at Rome. Oh, Mr. Graham, how do you do? Oh, isn't that your aunt, Lady Deborah? Oh, I should so much like to know her.
of course, if you wish it. allow me to introduce Mrs. Erlin.
So pleased to meet you, Lady Jedburgh.
Did you introduce Mrs. Allen to Lady Jedburgh?
I had to, my dear fellow. I couldn't help it. That woman can make one do anything she wants. How, I don't even know.
Hope to goodness she does not speak to me.
On Thursday? With great pleasure. What a bore it is to have to be civil to these old dowagers. Oh, well, they always insist on it.
Who is that handsome woman talking to Windermere?
I have the faintest idea. Well, she looks like an edition deluxe of a wicked French novel, one made specifically for the English market.
Oh. So that is poor Dumby with Lady Clendale? I hear she is frightfully jealous of him. He doesn't seem anxious to speak with me tonight. Suppose he is afraid of her. Those straw-coloured women have dreadful tempers. Do you know, I think I'll dance with you first tonight, Windermere. It will make Lord Augustus so jealous. Lord Augustus!
Yes.
Lord Windermere insists on my dancing with him first tonight, and as it's his own house, I can't well refuse. But you know I would much sooner dance with you.
I would like to think so, Mrs. Erlin.
You know it far too well. I can picture a person dancing through life with you and finding it charming.
Thank you, thank you. You are the most adorable of all ladies.
What a nice speech. So simple and so sincere. Just the sort of speech I like. Well, you shall hold my bouquet. Mr. Dumby, I'm so sorry to have been out the last 3 times you called. Come and lunch Friday.
Delighted.
What an absolute brute you are! I can never believe a word you say. What do you mean, telling me you don't know her? And why are you calling on her 3 times running? You will not go to lunch there, do you understand me?
My dear Laura, I would not dream of going.
You have not even told me her name yet. Who is she?
She's a Mrs. Erlin.
That woman?
Yes, that's what everyone calls her.
Oh, how interesting. How wonderfully interesting. I really must have a good stare at her.
Oh.
I have heard the most scandalous things about her. They say she's ruining poor Windermere. And his wife, Lady Windermere, goes in for all things so proper, invites her. How terrifically amusing. Oh, it takes a thoroughly good woman to do a thoroughly stupid thing. You will lunch there on Friday.
Why?
Because I want you to take my husband with you. Oh, he's been so attentive lately. He's becoming a terrific nuisance. A woman like that is just the thing for him. He'll dance attendance upon her as long as she lets him, and he won't bother me. Oh, I assure you, women of that kind are most useful. They form the basis of other people's marriages.
What a mystery you are.
Oh, I wish you were.
I am. To myself, I'm the only person in the world I'd like to know most thoroughly. Though, I don't see a chance for that late.
Come on.
Yes, her coming here was monstrous, unbearable. I understand what you meant today at tea time, Lord Darlington. Why didn't you tell me right out? You should have.
Oh, I couldn't. A man can't tell these things about another man. But if I had known he would make you ask her here tonight, I think I would have told you that insult, at any rate, you would have been spared.
I did not ask her. He insisted on her coming here, against my entreaties, against my commands. Oh, this house is tainted for me. I feel that every woman here sneers at me as she dances by with my husband. What have I done to deserve this? I gave him all my life. He took it, used it, and spoiled it. I am degraded in my own eyes and I lack courage. I am a coward.
I know you at all. I know you can't stay with a man who treats you like this. You would think he was lying to you at every moment of the day. You would think the look in his eyes false. You would think his voice false, his touch false, his passion false. He would come to you when he was weary of others, and you would have to comfort him. And he would come to you when he was devoted to others, and you would have to charm him. You would be to him the mask of his real life, the cloak, to hide his secret.
You are right. You are very right. But where am I to turn? You said you would be my friend, Lord Darlington. Okay, tell me what to do. Be my friend now.
Between men and women, there is no friendship possible. There's passion, yes, enmity, worship, love, but no friendship. I love you.
No.
Yes. Yes, you mean more to me than anything in the whole world. What does your husband give you? Nothing. Whatever he has in him, he offers to this wretched woman, whom he has thrust into your society, into your home, to shame you before anyone. I offer you my life.
Lord Darlington.
My life, my whole life. Take it and do with it what you will. Ever since the moment I met you, I have loved you. I have loved you more than any living thing, blindly, adoringly, madly. You did not know it then. You know it now. Leave this house tonight. I won't tell you that the world matters nothing, or the world's voice, or the voice of society. They matter a great deal. They matter far too much. But there are moments in one's life when one has to choose between living their life fully, entirely, completely, or dragging out a false, shallow, degrading existence the world and its hypocrisy demands. Margaret, I love you. You have that moment now. Choose, my love. Choose.
I have not the courage.
Yes, you have the courage. There may be 6 months of pain, of disgrace even. But when you no longer bear his name, when you bear mine, all will be well. Margaret, my love, my wife that shall be someday. Yes, my wife, you know it. What are you now? She holds the place that by right belongs to you. Oh, go. Go out of this house with head erect, with courage in your eyes, smile upon your lips. All London will know why you did it. And who will blame you? No one. If they do, what matter? Wrong? What is wrong? It is wrong for a man to abandon his wife for a shameless woman. It is wrong for a wife to remain with a man who so dishonors her. You said once you would make no compromise of such things. Make none now. Be brave and be yourself.
I am afraid of being myself. Let me think. Let me wait. My husband may return to me.
You would have him back. You were not what I thought you were. You would rather stand anything than face the censure of a world whose praise you would despise. In a week, you will be driving with this woman in the park. She will become your constant guest, your dearest friend. You would rather endure anything than break with one blow this monstrous tie? You're right. You have no courage. None.
Let me think. I cannot answer you right now.
It must be now, not at all.
Then not at all.
You break my heart.
Mine is already broken.
Tomorrow I leave England. This is the last we shall look on each other. For one night, our lives met, and our souls touched. It's She'll never meet to touch again. Come on, Margaret.
How alone I am in life. How terribly alone.
Dear Margaret, I have just been having the most delightful chat with Mrs. Erlynne. I am so sorry for what I said to you this afternoon about her. Of course, she must be all right if you invite her. Most attractive woman, with such sensible views on life. Told me she entirely disapproved of people marrying more than once, and so I feel quite safe about poor Augustus. Can't imagine why people speak against her. It's those horrid nieces of mine, the savvy girls. They're always talking scandal. Well, I should go to Homburg, dear. Really, I should. She's just a little too attractive. But where is Agatha? Ah, here she is. Mr. Hopper! I'm very angry with you. You have taken Agatha out on the terrace and she is far too delicate.
Awfully sorry, Duchess. We stepped out for a bit and got to chatting.
Ah, about Australia, I suppose.
Yes!
Agatha, darling.
Yes, Mama.
Did Mr. Hopper definitely?
Yes, Mama.
And what answer did you give him?
Yes, Mama.
Oh, my dear one, you always know the right thing to say. Mr. Hopper, James. Agatha has told me everything. How cleverly you've both kept your secret.
So you don't have a problem with me taking her off to Australia then?
To Australia? Don't mention that dreadful vulgar place.
But she said she wants to come back with me.
Did you say that, Agatha?
Yes, Mama.
I think that on the whole, Grosvenor Square would be a more healthy place for you to reside. There are plenty of vulgar people live in Grosvenor Square, but at any rate, there are no horrid kangaroos crawling about. We can talk about this tomorrow. James, you can take Agatha down. You'll come to lunch, of course, tomorrow, James, at 1:30 instead of 2. The Duke will have a word to say to you, I am sure.
I'd very much like to speak with the Duke. He's not said a word to me yet.
I'm sure you will find he has a great deal to say to you tomorrow.
Agatha!
Now, Margaret, it's good night, dear. I'm afraid it's the old story. Love. Well, not love at first sight, but love at the end of the season, which I think is so much more satisfactory.
Good night, Duchess.
Oh. Oh. James! Agatha!
Margaret, my dear. What a handsome woman your husband was dancing with tonight. Is she a very great friend of yours?
No.
Oh, really? Well, good night, my dear. Oh, will you walk out with me, please? Oh, so lovely.
Awful manners young Hopper has.
Oh, Hopper is one of nature's gentlemen. The worst type of gentleman that I know.
Sensible woman, Lady Windermere. Not many wives would have allowed Mrs. Ellen to come here, but Lady Windermere has that uncommon trait of common sense.
Oh, yes, yes. And Lord Windermere knows that there is nothing that looks so much like innocence as an indiscretion.
Yes, dear Windermere has become almost modern.
Oh, my, yes.
Didn't think he would.
To the club. Oh, lead the way.
Charming ball it's been. Quite reminds me of the old days, and I see there are just as many fools in society as there used to be. So pleased to find that nothing is altered. Except Margaret. She's grown quite pretty. Last time I saw her 20 years ago, she was a fright in flannel.
No.
Yes. positive fright, I assure you. Well, the dear Duchess and sweet Lady Agatha, just the type of girl I like. Well, really, Windermere, I'm to be the Duchess's sister-in-law.
But are you?
Oh, yes. He's to call tomorrow at 12 o'clock. He wanted to propose tonight. In fact, he did. He kept on proposing. Oh, poor Augustus. You know how he repeats himself. Such a bad habit. But I told him I wouldn't give him an answer till tomorrow. Of course, I'm going to accept him, and I dare say I'll make him an admirable wife, as wives go, and there's a great deal of good in Lord Augustus. Fortunately, it is all on the surface, just where good qualities should be. But you must help me in this matter.
I'm not called on to encourage Lord Augustus, I suppose.
Oh no, I do the encouraging. But you will make me a handsome settlement, won't you, Windermere?
Is that what you want to talk to me about tonight?
Yes.
Well, I will not talk of it here.
Then we will talk of it on the terrace. Even business should have a picturesque background, should it not? With a proper background, women can do anything.
Won't tomorrow do as well?
No. You see, tomorrow I am going to accept him, and I think it would be a good thing if I was able to tell him that I had, well, what shall I say, £2,000 a year left to me by a third cousin or a second husband or some distant relative of that kind. It would be an additional attraction, would it not? A delightful opportunity now. Pay me a compliment, Windermere. You're not very clever at paying compliments. I'm afraid Margaret doesn't encourage you in that excellent habit. It's a great mistake on her part. When men give up saying what is charming, they give up thinking what is charming. Seriously. What do you say to 2,500? I think in modern life, margin is everything. Oh, Windermere, don't you think the world an intensely amusing place? I do.
Not here, outside.
To stay in this house any longer is impossible. Tonight, a man who loves me offered me his whole life. I refused it. It was foolish of me. I will offer him mine now. I will give him mine. I will go to him. Arthur has never understood me. When he reads this letter, he will. He may do as he pleases with his life now. I have done with mine as I think best, as I think right. It is he who has broken the bond of marriage, not I. I only break its bondage. Ah, is Lady Windermere in the ballroom?
Her ladyship has just gone out.
Gone out? She's not on the terrace.
No, madam. Her ladyship has just gone out of the house.
Out of the house?
Yes, madam. Her ladyship said she left a letter for his lordship on the mantel.
A letter for Lord Windermere?
Yes, madam.
Thanks. Gone out of the house? A letter addressed to her husband? No, it would be impossible. Life doesn't repeat its tragedies like that. Why do I feel a horrible fancy come across me? Why do I remember now the one moment of my life I most wish to forget? Does life repeat its tragedies? Oh, how terrible. The same words that 20 years ago I wrote to her father. How bitterly I've been punished for it. No, my real punishment is tonight. It's now.
Have you said goodnight to my wife?
Yes.
Where is she?
She's gone to bed. She's very tired. She said she had a headache.
Well, let's go to her. If you'll excuse me.
Oh no, it's nothing serious. She's only very tired, that is all. Besides, there are people still in the supper room. She wants you to make her apologies to them. She said she didn't wish to be disturbed. She asked me to tell you.
You have dropped something.
Yes, thank you. That is mine.
That is my wife's handwriting, isn't it?
Yes. It's an address. Will you ask them to call my carriage, please?
Certainly.
Thanks. Oh, what can I do? What can I do? I feel a passion awakening within me that I've never felt before. What can it mean? Oh, the daughter must not be like the mother. That would be terrible. How can I save her? How can I save my child? A moment may ruin a life. Who knows that better than I? Lord Windermere must be got out of the house. That is absolutely necessary. But how shall it be done? It must be done somehow.
Dear lady, I am in such suspense. May I not have an answer to my request?
Lord Augustus, listen to me. You are to take Lord Windermere down to your club at once and keep him there as long as possible. You understand?
But you said you wished me to keep early hours.
Do as I tell you.
And, my reward?
Your reward? Your reward. Ask me that tomorrow. But don't let Windermere out of your sight tonight. If you do, I'll never forgive you. I'll never speak to you or have nothing to do with you. Remember, you are to keep Windermere at your club and don't let him come back tonight.
Well, really, might be her husband already. Positively, I might. The attendant